Thank you for joining us today. I am Dana Fillmore, Healthcare Segment Marketing Manager with Gordon Food Service. Dietitian by background, I work alongside our sales and marketing teams to help support you, our non-commercial customers, to assure we are offering the lineup of products and services you need to be successful. And we know labor is one of those issues challenging many non-commercial food service operators today. And that's why I am here to present Level Up, Advance and Revitalize Your Team. You are in the right place if you are looking for ideas to make your non-commercial team healthcare, senior living, K-12, college and university, or other happier, more engaged, and loyal to your organization. Level Up, or upskilling, is about teaching your team new skills that will aid them in their job, round out their skill set, or provide them with more advanced career development. Your experts at Gordon Food Service have pulled together advice from each other, as well as from many best-in-class operators like yourselves and professional third-party experts in this domain. I think we have some great ideas and solutions to share with you on this topic and come to you with some great insights you can benefit from. We'll start by taking a look at the overall state of the workforce industry and then show data that identifies career development as a top retention strategy. And next, we'll discuss upskilling approaches that you can use in your operation. Practical ideas you can start using today, all the way to more formal career ladder programs. Now, you have a lot on your challenge list as you work through the lasting impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and public health emergency. In fact, Food Service Director magazine recently polled food service operators and asked what COVID-19 challenges you were experiencing this year. And staffing, as expected, was high on the list. Over 50% of responding K-12 operators answered that staffing shortages were a significant issue. And an even higher percentage, at 81%, of healthcare and long-term care food service operators said the same. That's significant. Further looking into long-term care, a recent survey of executives by the American Healthcare Association found that more than half of the respondents said that they had essential food service staff quit at some point in 2020. We know that was a common occurrence across segments, plus an onslaught of temporary or permanent layoffs. Another survey validated that staff turnover was a growing challenge over recent months. This graphic showing an increase from 14% in mid-June of 2021 to 18% in mid-July of long-term care executives saying that staffing was their biggest challenge. These numbers paint the story we hear over and over. Staffing and retention is tough out there in food service. Looking broader at the U.S. workforce data from the Federal Reserve Economic Data Group, or FRED as they're known, there is even more validation shown here in that there are a higher number of open jobs than the number of hires. The blue line being openings, the orange line being hires. This could indicate a few things for us, two of which are that one, we are either having a hard time getting approval to hire everyone back, or we're having a hard time recruiting folks for those open roles. Either way, or both, we have a lot of unfilled positions. And on top of that, look at what this FRED graph from May of 2021 says. The orange color is both accommodation and total food service jobs. We see the quit rate is the highest it's been in more than a decade. Now, again, you can start to think of a lot of reasons why. One important reason to note may be that it's easier to find another job elsewhere since there are so many openings in food service and other fields. So let's think about this quitting trend for a moment and what that really means to an operation like yours. Are you experiencing this trend too? Has your turnover rate increased? If so, it's important to think about how that may be impacting your operation. Multiple sources have studied the real cost of turnover. We hear a lot about it, and admittedly, results do vary. However, I see several that point to an average food service employee turnover cost being around $5,000 to $6,000. And it gets higher as the salary rises. So with an average of almost 21% of a person's salary, this true cost estimate takes into account all the extra time and money recruiting and hiring and onboarding and training a new employee. And let's look at this example on the slide here. It shows when a $15 per hour full-time employee quits, just one. Using that 16% true cost estimate, that's a $5,023 cost for that one person. Multiplying that by 12 to simulate an annual cost for one $15 per hour employee quitting per month, adding up to a whopping $60,000. That sounds like a quick waste of money to me. But wait, you still need to add the soft costs of the chain reaction to what happens when a department works understaffed, right? High stress, more accidents because of that stress, leading to low morale, risking guest satisfaction, and reducing productivity. Definitely an unwanted chain of events. And speaking specifically to our healthcare listeners out there, you should also add a portion of the lost reimbursement dollars from lower quality of care scores and lower satisfaction scores that often result from this type of chain reaction as well. So it just really makes good sense here, right, to figure out what makes a great retention plan. And let me give you a hint here, one that is often overlooked as we get lost in the demands of our everyday work. A good retention strategy is not a one-time fix. You must consider the entire employee life cycle. It starts with recruiting, goes all the way through the employee life cycle from onboarding to engagement to benefits. And there seems to be countless tactics for each of those areas, right? So where should you start? Well, my best advice for you as you start to evaluate your own retention strategies is that it may help to start first by understanding why your employees are moving on. This graph here represents some really great research about reasons people leave a job. It's from the Work Institute 2021 Retention Report. I would be amiss not to call out that the COVID pandemic has caused a shift in the reasons for leaving, which we will address soon. However, as you all work to rebuild out of the pandemic, what I would like to draw your attention to here is that even with all the related challenges, results showed that career issues continued to be the number one reason employees decided to quit their job. Almost 1 in 5 employees cited career-related issues as the root cause of their decision to leave their organization. Career, in this instance, being defined as opportunities for growth, achievement, and security. That's big news, folks, and it starts to give us a focus for what the best retention strategies should include. I'd like to share an industry-relevant example on the smaller side. My neighbor, Daisy, is a 19-year-old college student working in the restaurant industry to help pay for school. She was a restaurant hostess and performed at the top level of her role for an extended period of time. She repeatedly asked her manager for opportunities to learn more roles, such as a front-of-house server. And her manager acknowledged her request each time and promised her he would train her when there was more time. Well, too much time passed, and this motivated employee walked outside 2 buildings down and got a new job on the spot as a server. That first restaurant lost a top-performing staff member because they did not take the time to help her grow and develop her skill set. So let's go back to the impact COVID has had on these results for when people move on. The Work Institute separates reasons for leaving by preventable and less preventable, as identified by an asterisk, as you can see on this 2020 data. Relocation, retirement, and health and family are the ones identified as less preventable. Looking at it on this year-to-year view, you can see the increase in the less preventable reasons, specifically health and family and retirement, which is understandable considering the downstream effects of the pandemic, and important for us to recognize. Another noteworthy trend to call out is with total rewards. For years, it has been reported by many that employees leave their jobs because of pay. Well, the Work Institute shares an insight that this simply remains untrue, and the number of employees citing pay as the root cause of departure has declined 23% since 2018. Employers' belief that employee retention is a pay issue has been and continues to be a false narrative per this specific analysis. And one more interesting look at this data is by age group. Their research continues to reveal that reasons for leaving are most influenced by career stage rather than a product of the so-called generational differences. Employees in their 20s, and therefore early in their career, leave for career reasons most often. Now, why might this be important in the food service industry? Think with me, what's the most common age of food service workers? That's right. This is significant for us because we know that 40% of the food service industry workforce is 16 to 24-year-olds. All this data together highlights that employees quit organizations that do not offer opportunities to grow in a preferred job and career. 11 years strong, in fact, the number one reason per the Work Institute. So we go back to the question I asked a little earlier. What makes a great retention plan? Well, I think an upskilling program to level up, advance, and revitalize your team is a really great place to start. Upskilling, what does that really mean? Put shortly, improve an employee's skills profile by training them in new areas. Many believe that this will make them happier and motivate them to be more productive, and wait for it, ultimately more loyal to your organization. And that's our goal. And remember, happier employees often result in happier guests and improved customer satisfaction. Another really important goal. This is adding up nicely here, folks, and makes upskilling so obviously a smart, valid, and promising retention strategy. I mentioned earlier that we will cover easy ideas you can start today all the way to formal career ladder programs. Let's break that down just a little. Think with me about upskilling an entry-level position within your single department. Could be a clinical dietitian, a food service employee, environmental services, whatever resonates with you. Just think of one of your entry-level roles through this upskill concept flow. First, and most critical, is to assure you are providing them with training that allows them to meet the basic minimum competencies of that role. And then beyond that, this is where you can think about training for new skills or knowledge that will help them enhance their performance and prepare them for advancement. Once they master that, start offering them learning and development opportunities that will qualify them to switch to another role to broaden their scope and experience. But don't stop there, especially if you have a good employee that doesn't want to stop. Move on to development opportunities to allow for supervision, those crew leader type roles. Here's an example of a food service worker named Carla. Carla is a wife, a mother, and a longtime worker on a college and university food service team. She began working years ago in a restaurant as a bus person, cleaning off tables after diners were finished. She wanted to expand into a stable environment with benefits while staying in the food industry. Carla landed a job at a local university in the food service department. And as a full-time worker, she appreciated the health insurance benefits, a commonly sought-after benefit that a non-commercial setting offers. Her passion was interacting with the guests and providing them with an enhanced experience while dining. Her manager cross-trained her with other front and back of the house roles. Carla was offered online culinary training and safety sanitation certification training. She worked her way up to qualify as team lead and then head chef, exactly where she wanted to be. Carla is now closing in on her 10-year anniversary in the university food department. A perfect example of a corporation benefiting from investing time and energy into upskilling a team member to the extent that makes them satisfied. You may also have team members that want to continue developing their professional skills. So be open about helping to get them to a management position, potentially including formal credentials. This is where succession planning comes in as a great tactic. And be sure to expand your thinking to help your staff members expand themselves into new areas of your organization. Might it be another ancillary service department, or in healthcare, medical support, or in a school to a teaching role? Yes, they'll leave your department eventually when they're ready. However, you'll be recruiting and setting the tone for long-term employees to better serve your overall organization. I'll share 3 more scenarios to demonstrate the impact you can have helping employees to get to leadership roles. Meet Veronica. Veronica was recruited as a new dietitian to work in a weight loss clinic at a rural hospital in Kentucky. This new employer made a commitment to her to pay for her to earn her master's degree in dietetics if she gave a commitment to stay 4 years working at the hospital. The deal was effective the day she started working. And well, Veronica went on and she earned her master's, completed her 4-year commitment, and continued to stay at the hospital for an additional 4 years, all while providing dedicated, top quality work. That may never have happened had the organization not invested in her. They found a good one to keep for 8 years. And meet Joseph. Now, Joseph was the first in his family to graduate from high school. He dreamed of a career in healthcare, and he found a job in the food service department of a local hospital. He began by washing dishes. He had a great team leader who helped him cross-train to soon graduate to salad prep, to short order cooking, and then delivering food to patients. His mentors helped him find grants and scholarships to continue higher education. He finished school while working with the moral support of his work team. Joseph worked up to be a clinical nutrition manager and eventually a director of food and nutrition services. Wow, what a great story of a career ladder for a dedicated employee who may never had the chance to show his potential, if not for a supportive development path starting from his entry-level position. And just one more story. Let's meet Evelina. She was hired as a credentialed certified dietary manager at a long-term care nursing and rehabilitation center. Evelina loved her CDM job and performed well. She resonated well with her employees, her peers in other departments, and the residents. She shared with her senior leader that she aspired to grow within this company, and they both felt she was perfectly suited for a nursing home administrator role. So, that leader helped her get lined up for classes at a local college and provided tuition assistance, as well as day-in-the-life job shadowing. Evelina earned her BS degree and is currently an administrator in training and on her way to become a licensed nursing home administrator. So those are some big stories. Let's get back to the beginning and look at some basics on how to get there. One of the easiest ways to get started with upskilling, even without a formal program in place, is to focus on assuring your team member is level set with those minimum competencies we mentioned earlier. Then, from there, a key part of this process is to always personalize the development plan of the employee. Be sure to understand their interests, their goals, and see where they fit within your organization. Coach them and be sure they understand the defined opportunities you can offer. And remember, in order to do this, you must have your minimum competencies clearly defined for each and every role and the training opportunities to get to those competencies. I'll share some resources with you shortly. As you learn more about the personal interests of your team members, it will likely open many avenues for upskilling them on something they are passionate and motivated about. For example, if you learn that one of your dishwashers has a deeper interest in understanding sanitation best practices, why not make them a subject matter expert by providing customized training in that area? As they become more educated on the topic, task them to teach others what they have learned and give them a platform to do it. You can do that on a lot of different topics like culinary skills, special diets, budget tracking, or even event planning. You see more listed on the screen. The options are abundant. This is an area where you may want to use cross-training and job shadowing as a tactic. One organization tasked their managers with asking entry-level staff to join them on a walk-in-my-shoes job task whenever possible. What a great way to help guide your team in finding out what their passions are. No better way to uncover a passion than experiencing some of it themselves. Another approach I learned from a long-term care operator is that they formalized a list of topics and developed a learning and development plan for all of those topics. It was voluntary, workers could sign up, and a small recognition was given to them as they completed each subject matter expert topic. When they completed all of them, they were given a special expert team member title on their name tag. We'll talk more in a few slides about what types of rewards you might want to use, from small ideas such as gift cards or picking their own schedules for a month to defined pay raises. But that unofficial title became sort of a bragging right and very well respected from other leaders in the company. It helped other leaders see exactly who the motivated team members were, and that goes a long way in identifying your A-game players for future opportunities. Along these same lines, you can also offer opportunities for your team to own special projects, preferably based on their personal interests. Give them a project, such as reducing kitchen waste. Let them define it and own it. Give them time to develop and the ability to recruit a committee. You will see their leadership style in action. Fuel their self-motivation and, at the same time, work toward department goals. What a great way to engage your staff for a win-win. Other project ideas could include planning theme meal days, or if you have somebody that is marketing savvy, Have them help increase awareness of your food and nutrition services through a blog on your website or social media posts. Consider having employees plan community outreach or other team bonding activities, or employee wellness competitions. All great upskilling and employee engagement opportunities. Give them a project to own and time on the job to learn what needs to be done. Of course, you'll need to set limits on the time allotted, especially if you are understaffed. However, thinking big picture with this, it is all about making those extra efforts towards keeping the good ones employed with you. An employee's interpersonal skill set is another area where you might want to think about offering upskilling. This develops the team member towards success in many areas. Good areas to focus on are overall professionalism, how you present yourself, communication, public speaking, leadership skills such as teaching others and encouraging teamwork, and emulating your company culture is a big one. And of course, you can't forget customer service in our industry, right? In order to accomplish all these ideas, from having subject matter experts, special project owners, and classes on improving interpersonal skills, you have to have training materials, right? I want to be sure to make you aware of a great free resource from Gordon Food Service. We have a section on our Gordon Experience website where you can access over 80 training topics. Each topic includes a presentation, pre and post tests, activity ideas, and a customizable certificate of attendance. They are designed to help you develop your training program. You can access them anytime by logging into Gordon Experience with your username and password. Go to More and then to Resources. Ask your salesperson to help you get set up with a username if you don't have one already. And once you're there, look down to see food service training topics. Click there, and then the 80+ topics are at your fingertips. You can present them to groups of people or have individual team members read them. You'll also see several other training tools in the resources area, so be sure to take a look around. These resources should be very valuable to complement or help build on your current training program to support some of these ideas we just reviewed. I hope you will use them and trust you will find them valuable. Often, certifications and credentials are a key part of qualification for advancing on a career ladder to leadership and management positions. These are also sometimes required by regulation. You can find courses at many local colleges, various government agencies, and there are many industry trade associations and third-party learning and development companies to utilize. I'll share some examples of a few. This example is from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. They have a K-12 culinary institute that schools can send food service employees to. Read this quote from Liz Cartano with me, a school nutrition director. I could go on for hours about how the Institute has positively impacted our program, Cartano says. Our associates who graduated from the Institute were so inspired when they came back to our schools that they worked with students and staff to create new recipes, conduct nutrition education, and promote healthy choices. The Institute was an excellent way to start the process of empowering our associates to be the best that they can be. That's a great testimonial to the intrinsic value of upskilling. Be sure to look for opportunities like this in your local area. Another source for certificate and credential support I mentioned was third-party training organizations. Gordon Food Service partners with 2 such food service-focused companies. Pineapple Academy is one. They offer online onboarding and development training geared towards entry-level workers. The approach Pineapple Academy takes with training follows some heavily studied learning and behavior strategies and aims to deliver the training in 5-minute increments, improving the learner's chance to digest the information. Each section is followed by knowledge checks to validate the learning. All delivered by industry experts, the core topics include CMS food service core competencies, covering areas such as hand washing, gloving, hygiene, and sanitation. Then there's customer service in senior dining with courses such as listening and communication skills, how to set a table, sequence of service, basic culinary with courses such as knife skills and cuts, how to braise, egg cookery, advanced culinary, and getting into batch cooking with soups and sauces, breakfast cooking, and finally, commercial kitchen cleaning, covering topics such as cleaning, sanitizing and disinfecting, maintaining the dumpster, kitchen floors. You can see the breadth of the training is wide. Their focus is long-term care, with application, however, throughout the full food service industry. Their training is very affordable. Gordon Food Service customers receive a discount and can get started for as little as $15 a month. You can access them on this website listed here. Ruby is another Gordon Food Service training partner, offering more of a ladder learning course that can culminate in qualification for certification testing with the American Culinary Federation. Again, Gordon Food Service customers receive a discount in the subscription fee. You can access them here at this website for more information. Trilogy Health Services is a best-in-class senior living provider. They have partnered with Ruby as an official part of their culinary fast-track program, and it's going quite well, I understand. And there are a mantra of industry associations, all with reputable training materials, with varying certificates and credentials. I recommend checking them out. My colleague Maria told me about a time when she sent 2 of her team members to a 2-week Culinary Institute baking certification. She provided me with a testimonial you can't beat about how thankful and motivated those team members were in that someone invested in them, in their development. They brought back skills and put them to work right away, increasing the quality of food as well as staff retention rate, which are both our goals. It is important to note that many of these associations do require membership fees for the services they provide, so you'll want to weigh the investment for your situation. In my experience, the value you get from the right association or organization is priceless in helping you train your staff. Here is an example of training from the School Nutrition Association. Members have access to a full learning center with many of the topics we spoke about earlier, and information and support for you or your staff to earn a School Nutrition Association certificate or credential. You can get the same from other disciplines from other associations, such as the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. As an example, ANFP offers a credential that is geared toward food service and referenced in the CMS regulations. Take a listen to what they can help you with.
Attracting and retaining a great food service team can be a challenge, but one of the keys to success lies in identifying career path opportunities within your organization. This requires a culture that embraces skill development and a commitment to providing the right kinds of training and resources for position advancement. One of the most fulfilling career achievements today is earning the Certified Dietary Manager, Certified Food Protection Professional credential. CDM CFPPs are nationally recognized experts at managing food service operations and ensuring food safety. Many CDM CFPPs started as entry-level food service employees before advancing to a role in management facilitated through the achievement of earning this credential. If you want to help your employees advance on their career path, the Association of Nutrition and Food Service Professionals, along with their credentialing agency, the Certifying Board for Dietary Managers, can help. The ANFP and CBDM websites provide resources for continuing education, standards for industry best practices, competencies for food and nutrition services employees, and a wealth of information about the CDM CFPP certification process. A great first step would be to encourage your team to fill out the CDM CFPP Career Assessment Tool, which is available on the CBDM website. For more information, the ANFP Professional Services team is available to help you get started on developing your employee advancement program. Contact them today at info@anfponline.org or call 800-323-1908.
Nice support, right? ANFP is a great partner for recognized food service credentialing, as well as the other associations for the variety of credentials available in this industry. For our senior living listeners, Argentum offers members a Senior Living Works online resource where you can put in a job domain and your location, and they will display for you all the available training sources in that area for that job. You can see they have cook, dietary manager, dietitian, head chef roles to look at. All wonderful resources. So let's jump now to looking at ways to more formally weave upskilling into your world. We'll start with the formal job titles and work our way through to HR pay scale. I mentioned earlier the importance of clear competencies required for job levels. The same goes for job descriptions and the requirements to advance to different job levels. These are a must-have when looking at upskilling in the format of a career ladder. That is, giving a clear pathway for an employee to advance from beginner all the way to lead roles. Having these step ladders gives a clear path for personal development. Here are some examples we see often for entry level. Using descriptors or numbers to represent the added responsibility. Frontline to crew leader to supervisor by role. Or cook 1, cook 2, and cook 3. Or for a specific role such as diet aide to diet tech to dietitian. Having this called out on a document can be a motivating factor by itself. Your team can see a future wherever they want to fall in what you are offering. Here are some examples of a job description that call out level, salary, responsibilities, and qualifications. This is Cook 1, and here is Cook 2. It is clear for the team members to see and understand. It's important to call out here that you'll need to work with your HR team to build or adjust job descriptions, and most definitely the pay grades. We'll touch on that in a little bit here. Here's a different example for a food service supervisor, showing the flow all on one page. Less emphasis on salary and qualifications here, but those would then be readily available when the employee expresses interest. This example is for a dietitian with different levels of experience. Again, shows me what I can work towards. Here is an excerpt adapted from a company on how they call out qualifications. I really like the step approach here, adding more to each box as the job level increases. This type of organization of information is critical in any career ladder program. Knowledge builds from general cooking and sanitation principles required for Cook 1 to additional knowledge areas such as portion control, adjusting recipes, and special diets for Cook 2. And then all the way through to supervision, training staff, and managing schedules with Cook 3. The education and experience qualifications align with those responsibilities, starting with a minimum of 2 years general experience for Cook 1, with Cook 2 requiring more years involving therapeutic diets, Cook 3 adds completion of an improved training program plus supervisory experience. This defined and documented detail is valuable as your team members think through career goals. Make sure your team has ready access to these documents and encourage them to look at them. We spoke about competencies. AHF, ANFP, and the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and others, all have resources that spell out competencies based on established standards of practice in different practice areas. These are great resources while you are building your job level qualifications like we just looked at. I encourage you to check them out. They'll be helpful to you during this process. Okay, let's talk about recognition for a while. Recognition is a critical part of a successful upskilling program. Let's face it, it may not be the number one reason people quit, but it is highly important. You can consider informal, smaller recognition all the way to actual pay increases. A favorite perk I hear a lot about is allowing your staff to write their own schedule for a week or a month, or also awarding leave early with pay days. How about trying a gas card or another gift card? Or award extra paid time off? How about paid time off and paid expenses for a training conference? And a one-time bonus is a very highly rated recognition. Just some examples to think about. And of course, don't forget pay raises as a recognition. Always be sure to work with your HR team to assure tax compliance with all of these. You can run into issues such as gift cards of higher value being taxable. And collaborating with human resources is always necessary if tying pay raises or pay scale to an upskilling program. And it is typical and expected for pay to rise with job responsibility. We know there's a lot that goes into getting a pay scale adjusted and approved, especially in larger organizations, and special considerations for union jobs as well. Rely on your HR team to guide you. It's a good practice to ask them for a market analysis to assure you are offering the right level of pay for your team as compared to the industry. That helps avoid a common pitfall of pay compression that can sometimes happen. Pay should reflect the required skills, experience, and knowledge level. That pay compression happens when you bring on a new employee with little experience and pay them similar to a more experienced veteran employee. Again, lean on your HR team, but know what to look for and what to ask for. Spectrum Health, based in Grand Rapids, Michigan, has done some in-depth preparation and implementation of an upskilling program. I asked them to share their story and experience with us as a summary of what we've reviewed today. Take a listen from Spectrum.
Hi, my name is Kevin Voss, and I'm the Senior Director of Hospitality Support Services at Spectrum Health. Some of my responsibilities at Spectrum Health involve leading our nutrition services team and environmental services team for our system. And I'm pleased that GFS has invited me here today to talk to you about what we've done with training and development for our employees. And I'll talk mostly about our nutrition services employees, but also because of my responsibilities are broader than that, I may speak to some of the other populations that we have. So to set the context for our training and development programs, we did some research around looking at what our employees desired. And in doing that, we created 3 different personas of our traditional nutrition services technicians. And we labeled these personas the long-term employee, the transient employee, and the networking employee. And these were important for us because we recognized that these different personas were desiring different things in their job, specifically around creating stability in their job and recruiting and retaining our employees. So our long-term team members are dedicated to making a positive difference in patients' lives and enjoy interacting with hospital colleagues on a daily basis. And this difference is often more important to them than compensation. And this population to retain really is important to speak to that purpose that they have in their job, but also to increase their skill within the department. That's the long-term teammate persona. The transient teammate are employed simply to have a source of income, and that's not meant to be derogatory in any way, but really that is their number one motivator. And these teammates, especially in this labor market, are those that often are enticed to another position for a mere 25 cents or 50 cents an hour. I'm sure that in this day and age, we all are familiar with these transient team members and that persona. The last persona is networkers. And this may be a little more unique to the healthcare setting than the commercial restaurant setting, but these are employees that often get a job in an entry-level frontline role in a health system, such as nutrition services, but really desire to move into a non-ancillary or administrative or clinical space role. And they see this initial job at Spectrum Health in nutrition services as a great way to get their foot in the door and hope to network with other colleagues to make a transition into another role easier for them. So these three personas really have different desires for successful recruitment and retention, and that was the framing that we looked to develop some development programs for. Another principle that I'm going to talk to you about is often organizations create development programs, but they're only for 10 employees a year. And we didn't want that at Spectrum Health. We wanted to create a program that anyone who raised their hand, anyone who desired to grow, could benefit from. So with those two ideas, the framing of personas and different desires and creating a program for all, we created a job depth program that was really targeted for long-term employees that wanted to grow their skill within the department. And we created a career pathing program. So let me talk first about the job depth program. 3 years ago, we looked at the 500 employees that we have in nutrition services, and we realized that most were in an associate tech role. So maybe 450 of those were in the associate tech role, many here greater than 10 years, and maybe 50 were in a senior tech position. And we created a job family that then created an intermediate tech level and a lead tech level. So we had a family of 4 roles: the associate, intermediate, senior, and lead. And that family, our goal was to create skills and training, specifically some certifications, to allow someone to come in the department, be in that associate role, and using our HR guidelines within our organization. Once you're fully trained and have worked 6 months, we should be able to promote you to the next level, to that intermediate level. So the associate role was that high school diploma, some customer service experience is your kind of key to entry. And then once you've been here for 6 months and you've learned 2 primary functions. So in healthcare food service, that might be tray line and tray delivery. If you've achieved proficiency in 2 of those functions of a tech role, you could move into that intermediate role. And then within 6 months of moving into that intermediate role, we would expect you to get ServSafe Handler certified. Mm-hmm. Which you could do online, as well as we had ServSafe proctors on staff ourselves, so we could do that training if you needed more guidance with that training. And then we replicated that with our senior role. You needed to be proficient in multiple roles, not just 2. And the expectation would be that you would be ServSafe manager trained, even though you were not a people leader. And then again, the lead role would then add years of experience to that. So when we started this program, we had 450 associates and 50 seniors. Today, we have approximately 150 associates. We have about 200 intermediates. We have 50 seniors and about 20 leads. So each of those job families have a different pay range, and there's a compensation as well as responsibility increase for each of those. And to date, I just asked one of our trainers for some data in preparation for this, and we have over 350 handler, allergen, and manager certifications in Spectrum Health at this time. It's one of my proudest moments when I walk in the kitchen that we hang up laminated ServSafe certifications on the wall, and it really makes a huge impression on our health department when they come in and survey for our biannual survey that we've put so much investment into our training and our programs. So really, really good success there. Then when we think about that networking persona, we created a career pathing program. And this, it was important for us to look at evidence-based tools for this. So without getting into too much depth, we used a ONET assessment, which is a national labor assessment along to ensure that someone had the skill set to move from nutrition services into patient transport or medical coding. And with that ONET assessment, we were able to do some soft skill training, customer service training, some typical keyboard training. We were able to do some interview and resume prep training as well, and then had a partnership with patient transport where we would actually do some shadowing days to make sure that our employees understood what they were signing up for. Many of our employees just desired to grow and network, but may not know exactly what the role they desired to grow into really did on a day-to-day basis. So that was something that we felt really valuable. We've put 60 people through this career pathing program, and we've learned that we need better skills to assess someone's skills from the beginning. So we're really looking at partnering with employee resource networks in West Michigan. There's a great resource called The Source, which has come out of a lot of great work and development from Cascade Engineering that we partner with to help our employees really value and understand the skill sets they bring and understand some of the gaps they may have. We've also learned quite a bit around when someone transitions from one department to the next, warm handoffs and the culture of both departments is really key to a successful transition and longevity in that department. And those are really valuable things for us to continue to think about as we really focus on this networking persona of development. So, in summary, over the past 3 or 4 years, we started looking at what are the types of employees that we're recruiting and trying to retain, looking at some of their personas or the differences in what they're looking for in employment and development. And we've created two programs. One, this job depth program that uses a family hierarchy that's based on increased skill and responsibility, as well as education and certification, mostly in ServSafe. And then we created a secondary program for those interested in moving outside of the department around career pathing and using some evidence-based tools such as ONET and work keys to assess skill. Really excited about creating a differentiation in workplace for recruitment and employment at Spectrum Health through these programs. And a lot to learn, a lot more to do, but I think our community is stronger for what we've done.
Some great insights from Kevin. I love how they identified employee personas and created unique programs for long-term employees and networking employees. based on what motivates those team members. His message validates much of what we have reviewed here today and brings home the impact that a program like this can have on your team members, the organization, and your local community. Thanks for sharing, Kevin. As another summary of key points, let's review the top 5 tried and true tips on upskilling. First, always personalize the learning and development you offer to each team member. Schedule meetings where you include discussions on work and career goals. Document a customized training plan for each employee. Have them own that plan and the progress through it. Revisit the plan and the progress on a regular basis. Clear job descriptions is the second tip. Each job description should clearly state responsibilities and qualifications necessary for the role. Be sure to offer defined training for the expected competencies and make sure the processes you train on are the best. Don't get caught on training on flawed processes. Believe me, that can create what seems like a never-ending batch of challenges. Third, allocate time during the workday for your team members to do the learning activities. Be sure to agree on a defined time to spend on training. If you're not careful, it can take away from the real job sometimes. And be consistent throughout the team so as not to show favoritism. The next tip is a big one. Train your leaders so that this upskilling idea is ingrained in them so they can best impact their team. Make it a part of any supervisory role. Encourage them to take advantage of informal, day-to-day opportunities to involve your team members in new activities. And be a coach. Offer mentorship to your team. Also, don't forget about succession planning for your role and other leadership roles. And next, if your organization is unable to pay for external training for your team, help them find grants and scholarships. They are plentiful, especially through the associations we mentioned earlier. Always train your leaders to celebrate and recognize the successes of all the team members as they progress through upskilled positions, no matter how small or large. And last, but not least here, train your leaders to conduct stay interviews. Stay interviews will give you insight to the real value of the upskilling training you are offering, as well as the other retention strategies you offer. Exit interviews are important, true. However, my advice is to take at least the same, if not more effort, to find out why people are sticking around versus why they are leaving. Our final tip is to measure success. Now, we didn't talk a lot about this earlier. However, it is just too important not to mention. I encourage you to track your turnover rate. For a quick lesson, turnover rate can be tracked by using this equation. Find your total number of separations or quits for a time frame. Divide the total separations by your average number of employees. Then multiply by 100 to convert to a percentage. So let's suppose you lost 33 employees over the last 12 months out of an average of 110 workforce. Divide 33 by 110 and then multiply by 100 to find your employee turnover rate of 30%. I recommend tracking quarterly or annually and watching how you perform on your trend. With a renewed focus on upskilling, our hope is you will see your retention rates improve. Using data from the ANFP's benchmarking program, I can share that the 50th percentile of staff turnover in long-term care pre-COVID was at about 28%. See if you can match or improve that. Also, track the time to fill positions, how many open positions you have, and employee satisfaction. Use these benchmarks to justify spending time and resources on a top-notch upskilling program. Thank you for joining me for this session. I hope you are walking away with some good ideas that you can use to level up your teams and improve your retention rate.